Welcome to the farm, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of the Creekside Chat. Happy to have you with us. We're excited today because, Adam, who's our show
We
sponsored
are sponsored by none other than Southwind Frank, who we will see later on is this close to being considered one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, we're going to have a little dive into the career of Southwind Frank and what was and what could have been and
What
the whole
is.
deal, what is today.
Exactly.
So let's roll that Southwind Frank commercial.
Creek Farm presents Southwind Frank, a force of nature who tore through the 2-year-old ranks and left a lasting impression on everything in his path.
It's all Southwind Frank, 2.5 lengths in front. Southwind Frank wins the Breeders' Crown.
Southwind Frank is powering past on the outside. Southwind Frank wrapped up in the first Dancer Division.
With the wind at your back, there's no limit to how far you can go. Southwind Frank, standing at Diamond Creek Farm.
Southwind Frank, Diamond Creek Farm, Pennsylvania. First set of 2-year-olds set to hit the track this year in not too long from now.
Yeah, pretty
Off
soon.
a good yearling sales season, with yearlings selling up to, I believe, $260,000.
At 240, Melander paid for, I think, what he considers to be, at least right now, one of his top 5 horses in Pilot Hanover.
That's what we hear. We got other trainer reports to run by you, but first we wanted to go through a little bit of Southwind Frank's 3-year-old year, highlight a couple races that we'd like to point out a couple things that are interesting on retrospect to us.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about Frank is he had such a dominant 2-year-old season where he won 11 of 12 races, and really the only time he lost was when he made a break in the second leg of the New Jersey Sire Stakes there in July. And then sort of ran out the season as it was. But moving to his 3-year-old year, I think it's well known, or if it isn't, it should be, that he had some soundness issues or some physical issues that plagued him throughout the year. And I think Berg and Gingras did a great job managing him at 3. And, the one big thing that they had circled on the calendar was Hambo Day, and he didn't come into the race 100%, but he was second in the Elim. And then, as you'll see, we'll put up the stretch drive of the Hambo. He was tough as nails coming back and almost beating Marion Marauder. So we'll try to get him there right now.
In 124 and 2 for 3/4 into the stretch drive, and on the outside Marion Marauder has open road, bar hopping, battling back, weightlifter K angles on the inside, the Royal Harry, and Southwind Frank looking for that rail and has room now, but it's Marion Marauder still in front. Southwind Frank is coming. Marion Marauder, Southwind Frank, Marion Marauder and Southwind Frank, they hit the line together.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those days where, Southwind Frank was gaining on him at the end, and I think that was him. He was going to fight you tooth and nail right to the wire, and, given another head, this story of Southwind Frank looks a heck of a lot different.
Yeah, to me, it looks like he's fighting through some soreness there, and that is the behind-the-scenes story, that he had some soreness going into that race, and he just wouldn't give up. Because we didn't show it, but around the final turn, he actually gaps back a little bit and has to really cover a lot of ground to be there at the wire.
I don't have the other one, but, the same thing happened in the Futurity, and I don't have the video to show you guys right now, but, I think we know because we were so close to the horse, but, coming off the final turn, the horse behind Frank sitting second over, the horse behind him steps on the right tire, right? And
you can see it.
You
if
run
you
us
go to
through the
YouTube,
stretch, right?
You can see this. So maybe a quarter way down the stretch to halfway down the stretch, all of a sudden you start to see Yannick's right tire wobble because it looks like the actual tread has come off the rim, and it's basically a failing tire,
right?
And Southwind Frank drags him home to lose by a nose.
Yeah, and I think with a tire, anybody that
no doubt he's there.
Day, he wins. That
day.
So
the line says broken equipment. This is something that maybe some folks don't know, but it just goes to show you that with the 2-year-old year that was second to maybe in recent memory only Muscle Hill, and then a 3-year-old year with a lot of great performances, but just missing in the Hambo and just missing in the Futurity with a tread off the rim, dragging Yannick home without a functional bike. away from
it
being
was
one of the great trotters.
I think those two races, if they are flip-flopped and he comes out on top, I think it would be hard not to say that he wasn't one of the top 2 and 3-year-olds that the sport's seen in the last 15 or 20 years. I mean, just a dominating horse at 2. Remember sitting there at the Breeders' Crown with Mark Weaver begging him to get into the horse just because he seemed like that type of horse that you wanted to be a part of. I mean, he had the charisma, and he does at the farm. I mean, he's the horse that on our open house days, he's the one that stands there in the barn like a gentleman and lets little kids pet him and old women take pictures with him and families hug on him and feed him carrots. I mean, he's that type of horse. And, he draws people in. And, unfortunately, his semen isn't the best, but I think it comes with that line, and I think it's a lot of people expect it. And, we've learned over the last couple of years how to manage his book, and we've reduced his numbers so that he does a reasonable job, and Courtney does a hell of a job getting the semen out the door and to the mares as quickly as possible, and his pregnancy rates have improved, and we're seeing the evidence of that on the ground with good looking foals.
Yeah, speaking of which, Diamond Creek is experiencing yearling inspection season where we're starting to realize that our group of Southwind Franks, which we have quite a few this year out of his second crop, is even better than what we had in the first crop, and we've got a nice group of Southwind Franks. I mean, we really do.
Yeah, our bellwether horse, the first crop was Capstone, who we ended up selling for 160, as Svan said, that we talked about before. And he was just that nice horse. He was just a good-looking horse. But this group of yearlings is top-notch, and we've seen the foals on the ground now. I think we've got, 7 or 8?
Yep.
And a good mix of colts and fillies, and out of good mares. We've supported the horse strongly through his first 3 crops now, and I think we'll see some evidence of that. People like them on the track. Trainers talk good about them. I know there's not a ton of them, but they're in the right hands.
They sure are, with Svanstedt and Melander, and Burke obviously has 4, and I hear he really likes at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
We know Svanstedt has nice things to say. Even Nancy Tactor has one she likes.
Yeah.
No one has complained about the Southwind Franks. Even a less expensive yearling that we sold that Charlie Norris is training. I actually got word that he's the top 2-year-old in that barn right now.
That's great.
Believe it or not.
That's
so
awesome.
So they might have had a good value buy there. So don't be surprised if you see a Southwind Frank 2-year-old making some noise on the Grand Circuit.
I'd be shocked if there wasn't. I mean, we're probably jaded in that we have to deal with his semen and especially the first crop or first group of breeders that bred to him that had a bad taste in their mouth. But as foals have hit the ground, sort of our minds have changed, and the buyers seem to like them at the sales. I mean, I remember sitting there in Harrisburg with people, and Svanstedt was very complimentary of them. I think the Europeans really liked them, and he was such a great 2-year-old and really a great 3-year-old given his physical issues. It'd be a shock not to see top end horses.
Yeah, if you were to describe the traits of a Southwind Frank horse, what does your mind go to? What are your talking points on what Frank can give you?
I think the main thing is he stamps them, right? I mean, he is that light bay horse. Not a lot. You're not going to get a lot of white. I mean, occasionally you get white from the mares, but he's not going to give you a ton of white. But a nice bay horse, really balanced horse, because he's like that. He's not a big horse. I think the talk has been the foals tend to be bigger than what was expected. Yep. He's 15.5, 15.3 maybe. But the foals, I mean, we've seen yearlings bigger than he is. Great balance. He's not perfect up front. He's a little toed out, maybe a touch cowhock behind, but he doesn't seem to pass those traits on. And I think like Muscle Hill line horses, Muscle Hill's not perfect, that you get people that are going to forgive some of those physical issues. But I think like most great stayers, he's stamping his horses, and there's a consistency that runs among them, colts and fillies. Father Patrick does it, Southwind Frank does it. I think it's a great attribute to have, that like we go to the farms now and we look at the horses and you're like, oh, that's a Southwind Frank, it's got to be. It looks just like one.
Yeah, we saw a foal that was born 2 days ago yesterday, and we're like, yep, looks like a Southwind Frank foal.
As it should. I mean, that's what we want to see, and he's doing that.
I can always pick him out just intrinsically by the light muzzle. Southwind Frank has a very light muzzle. What would you say, Adam? I mean, it almost goes to like a pale pale gray skin
Yeah,
tone, you know,
right.
with the muzzle, and almost all the progeny have that,
the
and
same
you can
thing.
pick them out of a row like that.
Yeah,
You know,
they got
he
the big
totally
long
passes
trotting
it on.
ears like
Yeah.
he does too. But yeah, the face. He has a very pretty head.
Oh, beautiful head.
And he's putting it on his colts and his fillies, which is nice because some of these standardbreds you get the big ugly heads. But
He is a beautiful head.
Yeah.
Frank does. And super mannerly horse, and I know from the limited amount of yearlings that we've prepped of his or whatever, the horses we've been around, we have not had any temperamental horses or temperament issues out of any of
No,
his
I
yet.
mean, again, I can't speak for the entire crop.
Who knows, right?
But the ones that we've dealt with are very mannerly, like you said, and they tend to want to do the work, and they tend to be easy to deal with. They tend not to have a lot of issues. And again, this is speaking offhand, but I can't recall that we've had very many injuries. I mean, they tend to take care of themselves well. They tend to rest well and eat good, and they tend to be the ones that kind of fly under the radar, which usually tend to be the good ones.
Yeah, and we like him so much that, you know, we're continuing to breed to him. Obviously, we went back to him last year with our most mares we had bred to him to date, so we have the most foals out of his third crop on the ground, and maybe actually they're all here now. But speaking about if you are going to try to book your mare to Southwind Frank and produce a pregnancy, what are some of the things that we recommend that you look out for? When, you know, what is made, because we've had some breeders have great success breeding to Southwind Frank, and others who either heard he wasn't fertile so they don't even try, or they, you know, don't have success on the first cover, and that, you know, they start to question his fertility. What makes a breeder successful? Because obviously I think we've pretty well laid out that he is worth trying and worth breeding to. He can get you commerciality. We think the 2-year-olds are going to do well, and he can stamp your horse, and he's a great cross with many. You know, he's got Cantab Hall on the bottom side, and the foals are bigger than we expected with his size. So what would you suggest? Like, you know, what's your pitch if I'm a prospective Southwind Frank breeder on giving him a try if I heard, you know, he's not the most fertile stallion?
I mean, that's tricky because we haven't found any trends, and I think that's the tough part, and that's what leaves us scratching our head. I mean, Courtney Pink and I have, you know, bent over backwards trying to figure out, you know, we've had experts in and we've had everything looked at, and there is no rhyme or reason why one mare gets pregnant and one doesn't. I mean, we've had people that you would consider to be very new to green breeders that will get a dose of Southwind Frank, stick it in their mare, and they're pregnant. And then you have great breeders, right? You know that they do good work, struggle with it. And I think that's the tough part for us. And, you know, we're laying it out there today, but like, he's not the easiest horse to breed. Yeah. But like you said, he's worth it, right? The foals are athletic, the offspring are what you want, I think. And, you know, that's sort of where we are. I mean, if we're being totally honest, there isn't any rhyme or reason to who gets pregnant and who doesn't. I mean, I wish his semen was better, but it's not. I mean, I wish all trotters were like Father Patrick, but they're not. So we have to deal with it, and we've tried to do it by limiting his book so that he can handle the amount of mares that are booked every day. And we, you know, it's 3 to 4 mares per day. But, you know, I think the people that do get pregnancies are happy with the results.
Yeah. I know today he gave us over 10 billion semen, so sometimes he leaves us scratching our head, you know,
like
even
why?
when his numbers are good.
Why
can't his pregnancy rates match the Father Patrick's and whatnot?
But he's a little different. I mean, we've limited him now to Monday, Wednesday, Friday collections, where the other guys are going 6 days a week, and that pattern for him seems to work best. And the limit of 70, 75 mares also limits, you know, the problems that we've had. And, you know, last year we did the same thing, and we've got pregnancy rates in the mid-70s, which are significantly higher than where they were to start his career. But, you know, we're always looking to continue to improve his fertility results.
Yeah, I can speak, you know, this team, Adam with Dr. Pink, with all the outside vets they use, they have done everything humanly possible to manage Southwind Frank the best possible for all the shareholders and breeders out there. And I can tell you, if you are thinking about breeding to Southwind Frank next year, that you can expect that that's going to continue. And that makes a big difference, because if they were over here pressuring the stallion and not concerned about the end user, you know, maybe collecting him for frozen all summer, or jumping him 6 days a week, that only hurts your chances. And you got to go in with the expectation that he is difficult to get him in foal to. Maybe not as difficult as some other trotters, but he is not. We would not consider him to have above average or even average fertility. We would consider him to be a subfertile stallion. But you can get him in foal, and we have a good track record of doing that on the farm and with our mares in Kentucky. I would recommend that, based on like our last week show, that you do reach out to Dr. Pink.
I think she's a great resource.
Get her recommendations on programming your mare if needed, and how to inseminate if you need to do like maybe a deep horn insemination.
Or timing the ovulation right. I mean, if you're breeding on top of ovulation or thereabouts, I think it increases your chances greatly to get them in foal.
Yeah.
And like you said, she's a valuable resource, so please take advantage of her.
Yeah, free resource to all of our clients out there. So she can certainly increase your chances of getting your mare in foal to Southwind Frank. And the takeaway from this is that he is worth it.
Yeah, and I think Europe, I mean, we're seeing some comments here, and we've got reports that, there's a handful of foals throughout Europe. I don't know how many exactly.
Sure.
I think there's, somebody said here, 31 in Sweden alone. But I know he bred outside of Sweden as well. And
some have even been imported. And without naming any names, there is a Swedish breeder that owns a 3/4 sister to Bold Eagle, who is breeding her to Southwind Frank, a young mare. Has just had her first foal, breeding her to Southwind Frank.
Right?
No,
for making it happen.
No, pat themselves on their back for liking the horse and taking
exactly.
that leap, because it's one of those things where if you just went on the rumor mill, you might pass over him, but they obviously like what they've seen in Sweden and like what they've seen over here.
And I think the reports, like we talked about earlier, are good from the 2-year-old, so there's no reason not to take a chance like that. I mean, we saw the mare's first foal not long ago, and I think it's a great cross.
Yeah. So keep Southwind Frank in mind next year. Get your applications in early. Talk to us, especially a good opportunity for any mares that you might have open going into next year, or maiden mares where you have multiple chances to breed. But we have some mares that even haven't been bred yet to Southwind Frank, and some of those will get in foal. I
think he does good at this time of the year. The weather's changed for the better, and we've tried to do a good job of spacing his mare book out throughout the season, so there aren't these big peaks late in the season, and so we're not turning anybody down right now. All the mares that are calling are getting in. So
we've missed no days, no orders, right?
Yeah.
So keep him in mind. You'll be hearing from me, I'm sure, if you have a nice trotting mare, to try to get you to book to one of our trotting stallions, or somebody else on the team. And so one of the things we wanted to do today is ask you all out there to, if you have any questions about Southwind Frank or anything else, but we're talking about Southwind Frank, please send those in.
Sure.
Hit us up in the comments. And if you have a Southwind Frank 2-year-old that's training down, how's it doing? Let us know. We'd love to talk about it, get some more info, and we'll just roll on from there. We need to update you all on the winner of the trivia question from last week. What was that trivia question, and what was the answer?
So it involved 2 of our stallions, Creatine and Father Patrick. They both won their last starts. And who was the horse that finished behind them in both? The only one horse finished behind them in both races, and it was Horse of the Year, Be a Magician. So you want to tell us who the winner is?
Austin Luttrell emailed in. He's a thoroughbred guy, but also a standardbred guy in Kentucky, and he's a fan of the show. So hats off to Austin. And Austin, we owe you some Diamond Creek Stallion stickers.
There you go.
Yeah. And then what is our trivia question for this week? Is it Southwind Frank related?
It's Southwind Frank related. So
and how does the trivia question work again?
So I'll ask the question. You guys submit your responses either here or by email, text, whatever you want to do. Email. Basically, the first correct answer is going to win.
Okay.
So however you want to send it, send it.
Okay. What do we have?
So Southwind Frank, Marion Marauder, good head-to-head battle in their career.
Great rivalry.
I think Marion Marauder gets a lot of credit for winning a couple of races there at 3, but they faced each other 17 times in their career. That many times. How many times did Southwind Frank win against Marion Marauder at 2 and 3? We'll just make it simple.
All right, so you have to guess a number of wins
That
at
Southwind
2-3.
that Southwind Frank had over Marion Marauder.
Over Marion Marauder. Yeah. Okay, we like it. Comment and get those answers into us. The question again is, how many times did Southwind Frank defeat Marion Marauder at 2-3 and also win that race?
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. So get those in, and like I say, hit us up with Southwind Frank questions. If you want to go ahead and book your mare for next year, we'll take your application. We'll have a conversation with you.
And we're full this year? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, we are full.
We are full this year, unfortunately.
All out of them, so don't
that's
call.
That's good.
No,
so, I mean, that's
that's
what we're supposed to say, right?
Yeah.
Is that we've done a good job and he's full for the year.
Yeah,
so.
he's been full every year at stud. So, the number of foals that we get on the ground, that's as good as we can do to set him up. And Diamond Creek has surely supported him. And gosh knows, so have Weaver, Burchemi, and the Burke Racing Stable.
Team, yeah.
Because even though they maybe weren't breeders to start all this stallion syndication stuff,
they've done a good job supporting both of their stallions in Sweet Lou and Southwind Frank for us. And I know that they've now got a couple other stallions spread out there. So stallion makers.
Hats off to them. Great partners, and we only want to do more and more with them. So hit us up with any questions, comment, like, subscribe.
What else happened this week?
Yeah. Oh, this week has been crazy, I feel like.
You're on the road?
Yeah, I'm leaving right now to go to Northfield.
Yep.
And Kelly O'Donnell's stable.
We got 2 in training with Kelly.
Yeah, Creatine Colt and Rock and Roll Dance Philly.
And Kelly was my first trainer when I first got started.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him all about all those old stories.
Yeah, you started with Western Montana, dam of pure country.
So great.
Yeah, you got to ask him about the goat.
I will ask him about the goat. I'm going to stop by Midland Acres. Shout out to our Ohio horsemen. Going to check out some full share foals up there and go visit some consignment clients, Ryan Smith and Andy Byler in Northeast Ohio. Look at their yearlings they're sending down to prep.
Great.
So busy couple days. What do you got going on?
I don't know. I may swing the golf club a couple times today. Not very well, let's say that. I'm trying this game out, but I'm shooting 110.
We're terrible. But
it's not even fun.
If you want to play and you're in Lexington, give us a call. We'll try. And then next week we'll be live
on location in Pennsylvania, Diamond Creek, Pennsylvania, and we may show off a stallion or two.
Yeah, maybe some foals. We're not sure exactly what all we have in store, but it should be exciting. There'll be some horses.
Yeah, so we'll be here next week.
Yeah, we will be inside the virtual background.
Exactly. Perfect.
Thank you all.
For
Stay
tuning
healthy.
in. We'll see you next week. Bye.